You may remember him as the sarcastic and lovable Chandler Bing from Friends, but behind the quick wit, iconic one-liners, and that infectious grin, Matthew Perry's life was far more complicated than many realized. His untimely death in October 2023 shocked the world, leaving fans heartbroken and confused. Yet as new details emerged, it became clear that this wasn't just a simple tragedy. It was a complex story of addiction, betrayal, and exploitation within Hollywood's darker corners. In Perry's life, fame wasn't just a gateway to success and stardom, but a double-edged sword that left him vulnerable to the sinister influences of those who saw him not as a person, but as an opportunity. Today, we'll dive deep into the events leading up to Perry's tragic death and uncover the shocking developments that continue to unfold in this harrowing case. Matthew Perry was found unresponsive in the jacuzzi of his Los Angeles home on October 28, 2023. He was just 54 years old, and the world mourned the loss of an actor who had brought so much joy and laughter to millions of people worldwide. The initial reports of his passing were vague, leaving fans, friends, and fellow actors devastated and searching for answers. However, within days, the cause of death was confirmed as an overdose of ketamine, a powerful anesthetic that has gained popularity in recent years as a recreational drug due to its dissociative and hallucinogenic effects. At first glance, it seemed like just another tragic story of addiction claiming the life of a beloved celebrity, a sad narrative we've heard far too often. But as investigations deepened, the true story of what happened to Matthew Perry proved to be far more complex and disturbing. His death wasn't simply the result of an accidental overdose. It was the culmination of months of deceit, manipulation, and exploitation by those who were supposed to be helping him. 5 individuals have been charged in connection with Perry's death, including his own personal assistant, a doctor, and a notorious drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen. According to federal officials in Los Angeles, this underground ring had been supplying Perry with large quantities of ketamine for months, profiting off his addiction while turning a blind eye to the dangers they were putting him in. At the heart of this conspiracy were 2 central figures, Dr. Salvador Plasencia and Jasveen Sangha. Dr. Plasencia, who was referred to in court documents as Dr. P, played a particularly insidious role in Perry's demise. Plasencia, who held himself out to be a legitimate medical professional, had in fact been involved in the illegal distribution of ketamine for some time. He not only provided Perry with vast quantities of the drug, but also demonstrated an alarming lack of empathy or concern for the actor's well-being. Text messages uncovered during the investigation revealed that Plasencia openly mocked Perry behind his back, calling him a moron, and discussing how much money he could make from exploiting the actor's addiction.
He wrote in a text message in September 2023, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay."
Perry, desperate to cope with his inner demons, paid as much as $2,000 per vial for a drug that cost only $12 on the streets, showing just how deep the exploitation went. Equally disturbing was the role played by Jasveen Sangha, the so-called Ketamine Queen. Sangha was a well-known figure in Los Angeles' underground drug scene, notorious for her ability to supply high-profile clients with ketamine. She had been arrested in 2019 after another individual died from an overdose of the ketamine she had sold. Yet that didn't stop her from continuing her illicit activities. Despite knowing the dangers of the drug and the fatal consequences it could have, Sangha continued to distribute it to Perry in large quantities, showing little regard for his safety. The betrayals didn't stop there. Perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of this story was the involvement of Perry's own personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, a man Perry trusted with his life. Iwamasa was more than just an employee. He was someone Perry considered a close friend, someone who had been with him through thick and thin. Yet Iwamasa, too, was involved in the deadly conspiracy that ultimately claimed Perry's life. On the day of his death, Iwamasa administered multiple doses of ketamine to Perry, even injecting him with a final, lethal big shot just before leaving the actor alone in the jacuzzi. When he returned, Perry was face down in the water, unresponsive. It was later confirmed that the high levels of ketamine in Perry's system had caused him to lose consciousness, leading to his accidental drowning. This story is tragic on so many levels. Matthew Perry was not just a victim of his own addiction. He was a victim of those who sought to exploit that addiction for their own personal gain.
These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves. They knew what they were doing was wrong.
It's a chilling reminder of the dark side of fame, where even those closest to you can become complicit in your downfall if there's enough money at stake. Perry's death has sparked a much-needed conversation about the dangers of ketamine, a drug that has often been marketed as relatively safe despite its potentially deadly effects when abused. It has also raised questions about the responsibility of medical professionals and those in positions of trust when dealing with vulnerable individuals battling addiction. Matthew Perry's life off-screen was as layered and complex as the characters he portrayed on screen.
Because I didn't know how to tell him that I couldn't go to the Knicks game, so I just told him I had to stay in Tulsa.
Though best known for his iconic role as Chandler Bing on Friends, Perry's struggles with addiction were no secret. He was open about his battles with alcohol and prescription drug abuse, even at the height of his fame.
If you worry that you're having this problem, or you know somebody that is, raise your hand, find somebody who's smarter than you about this, and talk to them, and be honest about it, because the secrets are what kill us.
In one of his more candid interviews, Perry revealed that there were entire seasons of Friends he couldn't remember filming due to his addiction, a startling admission that shed light on just how deeply entrenched his issues had become. Yet Perry's openness about his struggles wasn't just a cry for help. It was a source of hope for countless others going through similar battles. He spoke candidly about his time in rehab and the toll addiction had taken on his life. But he also used his platform to advocate for recovery and sobriety. Perry once famously said that he wanted to be remembered not just for the laughter he brought to millions, but as a guy who tried to help people. And indeed, he did just that. At one point, Perry even transformed his own home into a sober living facility for people in recovery, offering them a safe and supportive environment to get back on their feet. Despite his personal struggles, Perry's impact on pop culture remains undeniable. His portrayal of Chandler Bing on Friends helped cement the show as a cultural phenomenon that continues to resonate with audiences decades after it first aired. Perry's impeccable comedic timing, combined with his ability to bring depth and vulnerability to his character, made him a standout in an ensemble cast filled with talent. Friends became a global hit, beloved by millions, and Perry's role in its success cannot be overstated. Even today, new generations of viewers are discovering the show for the first time, further solidifying Perry's legacy as one of television's most beloved comedic actors. As the investigation into Perry's death continues, there is still much to be uncovered. While charges have been filed and plea agreements have been made, justice for Perry remains incomplete. His death serves as a stark reminder of the darker aspects of fame and addiction, and the ways in which those forces can be exploited by individuals seeking financial gain. But beyond the headlines and legal battles, Matthew Perry's story is ultimately one of resilience, compassion, and an enduring legacy that transcends his struggles. Matthew Perry's death was a heartbreaking loss for his family, friends, and the millions of fans who adored him around the world. But as we reflect on his life, it's important to remember him not just for the struggles he faced, but for the joy he brought into the lives of so many. Perry was more than just Chandler Bing. He was a man who fought his demons with honesty and grace, a man who used his own pain to help others, and a man who will be remembered not just for his humor, but for his heart. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy and understanding in a world that too often reduces people to their addictions. In remembering Matthew Perry, we should honor both his struggles and his triumphs, and recognize that even in his darkest moments, he never stopped trying to make the world a better place for those who needed it most.